Hey there, this is Rob. So we were not planning a show this week, but our plans have changed for obvious reasons. COVID-19 is, at least in the United States, top of mind, so we're putting out a special edition show. Would really like to thank Holly for supporting our show, not only overall, but this episode in particular. This is a public service one. Holly is a company that doesn't have to do things like this. They're choosing to, so we appreciate them, and we hope that you do too. Justin Cooley, thanks for hanging out with our man Corndog at that Mopar show in Louisiana. Glad you guys could get one more in while you could. So here you go, special edition show coming up.
You think you hate it now, but wait till he's driving.
The Kibbe and Friends Show.
What it is, bro?
Featuring Rob Kibbe.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Justin Corndog Cornett.
New guy's in the corner puking his guts out.
And show producer Bernie McPartland.
This is the DJ 3000, and it has 3 distinct varieties of inane chatter.
Talking cars.
Do you feel this vehicle is safe for highway travel?
Yes, I do.
Diving deep on the topics that matter most.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this. And totally redeem yourself!
And the Dukes of Hazzard. Available in iTunes, Stitcher, and whatever else it is you listen on.
Turn up the volume.
The Kibbe and Friends Show.
Kibbe and Friends Show, episode number 141, available on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Instagram, YouTube, and Patreon. We are here for the show that wasn't supposed to be. I am Rob Kibbe. He is Justin Corndog Cornett.
Yes.
And in the Lysol glass booth of emotion, guns, ammos, Cadillacs, and I don't know, whatever else Texas is doing right now. Bernie McPartland, your intrepid producer.
Yes.
If you are a loyal listener, we were taking this week off. At least I was taking this week off. You two were maybe going to continue without me. But plans have changed. The world has changed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And what really changed my mind on this, number one, my plans were changed a little bit for me, a little bit at my own direction. But the best info I got at the start of the coronavirus came from a podcast. And at first it was funny, and second it was informal, and then third I realized, this is how people get their news now.
This is real.
And this is, I have to admit, the best news I've received to date. It was on the Joe Rogan podcast. So what we're going to do is a little special edition of the Kibbe and Friends Show. We don't have a show review for you. We don't have a car review for you. But we do want to hear from you, and we have heard from you. What we're going to do is a whole show about how we're dealing with this.
What did you call it in our text? The Corona Spectacular Special?
Corona Spectacular Special, yes. So grab 2 Coronas, a Corona Light, and settle in, because Lord knows it's not time to panic.
So, Professor, would you say it's time for everyone to panic?
Yes, I would, Kent.
Hordes of panicky people seem to be evacuating the town for some unknown reason. Professor, without knowing precisely what the danger is, would you say it's time for our viewers to crack each other's heads open and feast on the goo inside?
Yes, I would, Kent.
I will admit, a week ago, that's where I was. You crazy sons of... You're out of your minds. Chill out. Don't do a run on the bank. That's how banks go broke. The problem probably isn't that bad. And now a week later, and I'm going to openly admit, do you guys take some of your news and politicians at skeptical arm's length? I do. I certainly do.
There are a couple of people in my household who adore staying glued to the TV to unnamed news channels for days on end without a breath. I am not that person at all.
It's not that I think they're lying to me. It's that I think they're not telling me the whole truth. And that has unfortunately proven to be true time and time again. But we are, as a country, I think, we're in a different spot now. Our president has taken a totally different tone than he did a week ago, a month ago, for sure. Mm-hmm. Here's what's happened in the last 2 weeks. Bernie Sanders was going to be the Democratic nominee, and Joe Biden looked like he had lost his ham sandwich. That's flipped.
Maybe he did.
Maybe he did, but he's going to be the nominee. Tom Brady is praying for the Tampa Bay Bucks. I thought Tampa Bay quit like years ago. So much is happening here. So, yes, we are the show that is here to keep you away from reality. But again, we put out some social media calls and we thought we'd just kind of chat through this one. So
I do like that we are doing a good job of social distancing between the three of us.
you want to know what just chaps my hide? Two things. Right now, you go on CNN, any news channel, and the true media, the real ones with degrees in this, you know where they're sitting doing their interviews? Same right damn place we are. And have always been wearing their Apple iPhone. Okay, so apparently anybody can be in the media. We've been a homeschooling family for 12 years now. It's wonderful to hear that people are taking their education for their kids seriously while their kids aren't at school. I mean, they always should. Maybe people are going to learn that there's a lot of benefits to this, especially in a time management perspective. It's also not easy. No educator has an easy job, no matter where they work. There's a lot of interesting takes coming out of this. I got one for you guys. You've heard the flattening the curve mentality, I think, right? From epidemiologists. Yes. We're trying to flatten the curve. It's a very, very serious thing. I think they got it slightly wrong. I think it's this. Straightening the curve. Flattening the hill. That's what it's supposed to be.
That's where I've heard
it. And that last part is true. The mountain would be death. So take this as seriously as you possibly can. So number one, we could do at least this podcast from home. So I'm just kind of curious. Bernie, I know how you work now. Compared to how you used to work when you were at the radio station, could you work from home?
I could work from home probably 3 days a week and be okay.
And was that always the case, or did you get an ISDN line, or when did that become a thing? I mean, because you've been in radio for, what, 25, 30 years?
Yeah. Probably the last 10 years is when that really started becoming possible. Certainly after a company that we use daily to transfer files with back and forth came about, that's when it really started being driven home that you could do it and do it successfully and do it in a timely manner and do it concisely. Mm-hmm. All your files could be in one place. You know where to get them. Other people can share that information with you, and it's reliable and timely, and then you can actually do a task between two remote locations. So once that happened, it really started accelerating that ability for everybody to connect. And then as internet speeds have increased in the major cities, that has done a lot. Once we got to 4G, that made a big difference. Even when we were doing radio-bound terrestrial remotes, not having to use radio equipment back and forth to the studio, you could then use your Wi-Fi card to do it. Mm-hmm. That really opened things up. And once that was reliable, then, that really started setting the stage. And so now I don't have the fastest internet in the world at my house, but it's fast enough to do everything I need to do with time to spare. So I'm very grateful that I am in a great position that everything I do from this office here covers all of my clients. So not only here, but the other things that I do, and I can do them at the same pace that I've always done and remain under the guidelines that we're under right now. So not everybody's in that seat. I realize how lucky and fortunate and blessed I am.
Yeah, I mean, even on the way driving over here tonight, I'm about to move my recording station to my basement. I've been meaning to do that for a while, and this is actually the impetus to get it done, just so that I make sure that I have access to it. Not that our office access here wouldn't remain, but it's always easier if you're the only person that has the decision on whether you get to do that thing. Here, I'm in a building I don't own. Somebody might want to lock the door and keep it locked, right? So I don't want to be told. I don't want to find that one out the hard way. How about you, Corn Dog? So you go to a body shop every day, and I can't imagine you can do your body shop work at your house for your customers.
Not in the same. I can always do side work, but I'm not really set up to really do full auto collision stuff here at my shop. No.
So, Corn Dog, what's life like for you? Do you still have to go to work at normal time? Is there anything special being done at the body shop?
It's pretty much exactly the same as it's always been. I mean, we still got to get the cars in and out of the shop, and I've been doing restoration stuff, so my job is less critical, I guess you could say, because, the customer's not sitting there waiting for me to finish up whatever it is I'm working on. We actually had a shop meeting this morning about, the virus, or it was just the typical, if you feel sick, stay home, don't come up here, don't bring it up here. And then like our cleanup guy, he's going around cleaning everything up. Everybody stay out of the front office where the customers are at. And, just typical y'all just stay back here and work. But the good thing is, it's not like some people's work, where they're like in an office and they're in a cubicle and, you've got 4 people sitting around you. In the body shop, I've got a stall. The closest person to me is probably 40 to 50 feet away. So I'm good as far as that goes.
I saw somewhere different information on how long various facets of the virus can live on objects. And the only one that I remember that stuck out in my head was that the coronavirus can stay somewhat alive on stainless steel for 3 days.
Really?
Which was a kind of an eye-opening. No, that was a scary thing. I don't think anybody here was not taking this seriously even a week ago, but it just wasn't front and center. By the way, we have a lot of international listeners who experienced this a lot before we did. I realize that's all true. So I'm very interested in things like that. Our construction business has a client that just spent almost $1 million on Lysol. And
wow.
They're just scrubbing down their facility right now.
So that's why we can't find any.
Yeah. There are certainly people doing their part of hoarding. We did stock up more than we normally would. I'd say right now we have 2 weeks of supplies on hand, just groceries and things like that. We don't have acres and acres of toilet paper. I think you bought out my share of toilet paper.
No.
I'm kidding.
Actually, the club store that we've talked about before just recently opened up. Bernie said he was going to come for the grand opening, but I didn't see him there. But I wasn't there either. So,
yeah, you didn't tell me. I was going to do that.
March 12th is when it opened. But yeah, so anyways, my wife's coworker said she was going to go up there and, she had already got a membership prior to it opening. So my wife said, pick us up some toilet paper. And this was before it really got stupid crazy. And so she picked us up a bundle pack, however many comes in a bulk pack. And so I'd say we're good for a little while. But no, I don't have truckloads of toilet paper and Lysol and all that stashed out here behind my shop or anything.
We live in a little college town here. I would say that the crazy wave here is still pretty subtle. Other than toilet paper, the stores have pretty much everything you would want or need.
Even bread?
Yeah. Not as much as normal, but yes, there's plenty of bread. The place where we get our Saturday morning donuts called Dutch Oven Bakery. All the restaurants here are probably like where you are. They are closed to normal access. You can get drive-through if they have a drive-through. If they do pick up, yeah, no dine-in. All the bars are closed, certainly. One interesting thing that's happening right now is hours are restricted. We're getting to a point in time that is kind of like the 50s or 60s. Like as Americans, especially, we're used to a life of comfortable excess, right? We can do what we want, when we want, where we want, how we want. If it's 3 a.m. on Saturday morning and I want a cheesecake, I'm going to get one.
Yeah.
And right now, stores are closing at 7 o'clock at night. And we have to go home and talk to our families and stuff. Some of that is not so bad. That has been interesting to me this week, at least.
From Texas, I know there were other states that had it. I don't remember. It's been so long ago. But Texas used to enact what they called the blue law. And that meant that everything, 96% of things, were closed on Sundays. The town I grew up in between Dallas and Fort Worth, they actually almost would roll in the sidewalks. I mean, there was, Kmart wasn't open. The other stores weren't open that you would go to. A lot of restaurants weren't open. And you just kind of dealt with it. I mean, gas stations and things like that, I believe, were open, if I remember right. That was about it. And everybody got along just fine. And now there's a chicken place that is not open on Sundays, and they seem to be doing just fine with it. So,
There was a little town that I used to work in, and it's like the little small town, town square and all that. And of course, kind of like what you said, a lot of the places were closed on Sunday, but they would also, I don't know if this is nationwide or what, they would shut down at noon on Wednesday. And so you pretty much had to get everything done that you needed to do before noon on Wednesday. And it was kind of like a midweek break.
Yeah, my wife buys beef from, I can't remember the name of the company, but a small beef producer in Nebraska. And it's grass-fed beef. And when you buy it in bulk, it's actually just as affordable as buying it locally, if not more so. But our local grocery store has a really great meat department. They have always been a closed on Sundays company, a faith-based reason. And right now their hours are now 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. They are open only for the elderly. So if you are elderly at risk and you need to come in small numbers, it's just for you. It's kind of like the adult swim hours at the pool, right? 9 to 7 is for the general public. And from 7 to 9 and beyond, that's when they clean the store and restock it. I think everybody's going through this right now. Here's what I did. Preparation for today's show, which was not much. I put out a post, same post on both Instagram, and Facebook, just to make a list. Because I'm guessing, just based on, we're a car-breathing audience. A lot of us, cars are our hobby, but for a lot of us, cars or other things that we do with our hands are our profession. We can't do it from home on a computer. Who do you want to lose less in your life today? Your garbage man or your lawyer, right? You want the garbage man to show up.
You got to pay your lawyer just to even talk to him.
Yeah, and he can do that from the phone. So, fine. So, here's what I thought we'd do. Not that these are meant to be funny, but because I've always loved Little Spanish Flea is my standard thinking music. Thought I'd throw these out here. And I'm going to start with a joke. This is not out there, but actually, I wasn't going to tell you it was a joke. Did you hear about Chuck Norris? He did get tested positive for the coronavirus.
Yes, I did hear this. This is great.
Yes, I did.
The coronavirus has been quarantined for 2 weeks.
Yes.
Okay, so if you posted, well, I haven't read any of these. We're just going to read your, some of these are jokes, some of these are comments. And here is what the request was to put out to people. We would like to hear from those of you who cannot work from home and how you're dealing with it. And if you just want to gripe, tell jokes, we're always game. Go ahead. So here's what we got. This is on Instagram. Boosted TA says, I'm a mechanic for Chicago's transit system. I can't exactly fit a bus in my home shack, so I'm stuck at work until further notice. Feel free to ask anything you ever wanted to know about buses. Okay. Sam Bachman asks Boosted TA, what's the most common thing you guys have to fix? Boosted TA says, it comes in waves, but currently I have a rash of exhaust issues due to plugged diesel particulate filter systems, cooking turbos, and blowing manifold gaskets. Oh, yeah. Modern diesels are just full of environmental stuff that make those things get clogged up.
You know what? I would hate to be the guy that has to go in there and clean and sanitize the inside of those buses.
Oh, man.
You see videos and you just don't even want to touch anything in there. I'd hate to be that guy.
I did get like 4 hours of spring break in on Sunday. I took my family along on a work trip, and we ended up going through the Ark Encounter just south of Cincinnati. Like, it looks like Noah's Ark. It's a giant ark.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that place was very well staffed. They definitely had their cleaning procedures down. I don't know if today I would go, but on Sunday it was still relatively safe feeling. It was not well attended. That was eye-opening. Boy, you stepped on a bus, they were in there scrubbing it down. You stepped out, they scrubbed it down again. Lars Duck, he says, I'm a truck driver hauling grain and I'm working, and I'll gladly listen to y'all tell fart jokes, or any jokes for that matter.
Fart jokes are always great.
We could do that for a while if you want. I have this thing where I queue up sound bites. There's probably 50 in here. I never delete the fart ones, ever. David.94.ram. Here's a random info. So here goes. Hello to everyone. Corndog, Bernie, Rob, I hope and pray everyone is good and happy and healthy. And staying home, Bernie, there is another reason not to wear pants. I, as a truck tech, have to wear pants. I get weird looks last time, not everyone knows Bernie when I explained it. What? I missed something here. Moving on. Number one, if you could have crossed over a few episodes based in Hazard County, would you have the Fall Guy cast coming in and chasing the bad guy, or would you have the Dukes of Hazzard team on the David? I think I got the gist of it. What crossover would we like? Do we want the Dukes on the A-team, or do we want the A-team on Fall Guy, or do we want the Fall Guy on... What's another show like that?
A-team would blow up Hazard, so I don't know if that would work too well.
Good point.
I think A-Team and the Fall Guy would work well together because they're always jumping things over ramps. You know, those soft, you call them soft jumps, but, just high enough to get over something and then land and crash, that kind of jump. And both of those shows were pretty good at that.
I don't know if this would be a good crossover or not, but I'd kind of like to see... And I know that they did this in one episode as a joke, but a Knight Rider crossover, not with Dukes of Hazzard, but with Fall Guy. Was Fall Guy also a Glenn Larson production?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why. I don't know why in my head. I kind of wanted to see how the same creator would take two kind of fairly different shows, because Fall Guys was not a tech show by any means. It was a stunt show, and Knight Rider was more of a tech show with stunts.
I'll tell you what I'd like to see, just thinking about that, just letting random thoughts run through. The Dukes of Hazzard visit Gilligan's Island. The Dukes have jumped the General Lee so far and hard that it lands on Gilligan's Island. And the common theme we have here is Daisy Duke and Marianne's hot pants.
And Uncle Jesse can make as much moonshine as he wants because there's no law.
Good point.
No law. David has a number of... No, I've not read these, so I'm just going to read them as it. David says, I could see B.A. Baracus giving Cooter a few pointers on cars. He's really on to this. And Murdoch interacting with Roscoe. Furthermore, how about this one? I just watched an episode of Burn Notice. And on that show, there's a black Charger with Burt Reynolds. Yep, the bandit was in the CIA, I guess, after he stayed in Miami after Bandit Part 2. Well, it worked out in my mental crossover universe. Okay, guys, have a good one. Don't pick your nose or anyone else's. Stay away from people and love brothers and sisters.
Wow.
That's awesome.
He's got one more.
Awesome.
Chuck Norris went to a feminist rally once and came back with his shirt ironed holding a sandwich.
Wow.
Oh, no. That's it. That's the one that took us out. You know what? We're going to put this out on Patreon first. Maybe edit.
Since it's not on video, the only reason I'm laughing is because there's a big gorilla in the room tickling me. That's the only reason I'm laughing.
There's a middle picture for you.
Joe,
cheer up, will you?
Yeah, that again, I didn't read any of these. Joe.ey9616. I'm the shop foreman for my county school transportation. We are working even though the kids are not in school. We are using buses to take meals around to kids, served 4,800 meals on the first day. Yeah, that's a big deal. For those that do depend on the school system for their meals, I realize that could be a totally different conversation, but how do they get them? I guess that answers that one. Lame username 001. 3 weeks off work paid. I'm doing a tune-up and clutch on my 71 F100 daily, and I'm pulling my 70 El Camino back out of winter hibernation, finishing up a 351 Windsor that I've been cleaning and painting forever. That was one of these things where I said, what are you doing if you're just getting projects done? Vet Speed Racing has 3 cry faces and a pounded fist. Good. Bibster Promotions. Spring cleaning in the engine building room at Midwest Super Cub. Then it's time to build some big block Vanguards. Then Custom Car Nerd says, I took the day off to get some personal stuff done and work out, get out and drive merchandise, but tomorrow I'll be back at Frisco Hill Auto restoring classic cars and trucks as usual. I can't work from home doing that. Yeah. Okay. Same questions, same topics, just to our Facebook audience. And so the question was, what are you doing if you cannot work from home? How are you dealing with it? Matthew Vaudrin says, my wife's working from home, the kids are out of school, but I'm out of the door at 6 a.m. daily. I will say my commute has got much easier with the rest of the world sheltering in place. Oh, yeah. Man, did you see some of the photos like about the world 3 weeks ago and then the world today? And this is all around the world, not just the United States.
No, I hadn't seen that.
It's fascinating. It'll show you, there's one photo from China just showing an interstate system, and it's just fully clogged on one day. And then from the same, I assume from a traffic camera, it's the same camera angle today, and it's empty. Totally empty.
For all people complain about smog and global warming and all that kind of stuff, they should be very happy right now.
I think that was something on the, I just saw this on the news. So in Venice, you know, the boats that take you around Venice, well, the water in that canal system is kind of famously filthy. Well, it's actually cleaning up right now.
Wow.
It's literally out of Avengers Endgame. After the snap, where Thanos eliminates half the population of the universe, well, nobody's out driving boats around like the harbors in New York, and there's whales returning, like to the Hudson River, because that was from that movie, but it's actually happening now. Chris Lushka? Yeah, Chris Lushka. He says, O'Reilly's is stocked up on toilet paper and hand sanitizer. 2 cans of hand sanitizer is $5 for a deal. My mechanics and racers will understand. And it's actually brake cleaner and carb cleaner and engine degree. But I'm sure it works. Probably works just fine. Let's see.
Your liver, but hey.
Yeah. Should work fine. Dan Atkinson, our man Dan Atkins says, as a truck driver, I both work from home and can't work from home. This social distancing fad is daily life as I sit on my butt, staring out a window, trying not to drool on myself. Pretty much every restaurant is takeout now, but thankfully there's enough. There's enough food left at grocery stores to keep my truck stocked up. Chicago wasn't as bad as yesterday, so I could get used to that. But I'm ready for life to get back to normal-ish. Adam Ward says, "G'day, mate," to Dan. Have you noticed a reduction in traffic? And that was something he had talked about. Stephen Boyce says, as a code enforcement officer, I can take photos from my vehicle and send letters from my desk, thus avoiding human contact and listening to podcasts all day. I'm not sure what that's talking about. If it has not been considered, you might think of adding Need for Speed to the movie review list. It is mindful car entertainment and great fun. Thanks for all you guys do. What's a code enforcement officer? Is that like traffic codes?
It's like neighborhood codes for if you're building onto your house and you don't have permits, if you are digging a ditch and you don't have, and you're doing it on the city easement, or your shrubs are out of whack, all of that and many, many, many more. We have several of those.
Can.
Yes.
Trash cans left out for more than 24 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is the city's version of the belligerent HOA. And it has its place, and I understand. I mean, I've had neighbors before that really, really needed a visit from those people. And, I'm all about, this is my land, leave me alone. But, it was getting out of hand. So I was grateful that they were there to step in. So thank you for what you do. I know it's thankless sometimes, but it is needed and appreciated. So thank you.
Speaking of angry, grumpy people complaining about you, to the old man who was going to complain to the front desk at the hotel that my kids were making too much damn noise jumping on the beds. I don't disagree with you, sir, but you don't have to be such a dick about it.
What if he's a listener, though?
He's not.
He may be a Duke fan. You don't know.
He looked a little older than our target demo. I mean, just I'm not profiling, but I don't think so.
More of an I Love Lucy kind of guy?
Yes.
When it originally aired?
Yes. Saw it on the original run, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What's a rerun? Yeah.
Yeah, what's a rerun? It's brand new.
Yeah, Home Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is a classic.
Steve Grandstaff says, I work in the automotive field. I used to work from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Today, we just got told we're being reduced to 9 to 5 or 8:30 to 5 if we want to clock out for lunch. This is huge reduction when considering the overtime hours lost. I'm lucky that we haven't been put on hold and still have a job to go to, but it's going to tighten the belts nonetheless. A lot of that going around. Dave O'Connor says, I run a warehouse that supplies roofing materials to contractors. I'm not sure what to do differently. Just trying not to get close and definitely not shake anyone's hand.
That's the nutshell of it right there.
Right
it really is. Yeah.
Take every precaution you're being told seriously. Wash your hands. Use a sanitizer. The post I put out for this was one my kids made. I don't know that we're following it to the letter, but we said, hey, we're going to conserve what we do. We're going to wash hands and watch how much toilet paper we use. So my son made this notice and put it in every bathroom. 3 square limit for pee, 7 square limit for poop. Thank you. Happy face. Jason Roberts says, I work for the county, and so far we're still working. I drive into Houston to pick up parts for the heavy equipment, so if there's one benefit to this madness, it's that Houston traffic hasn't been bad at all. Look forward to every new episode, as podcasts are all I listen to in the work truck. Cool. Yeah, thank you, Jason. Let's see here. Clifton Darnell says, I'm an assistant for a Snap-on dealer in Dearborn, Michigan. If you guys don't work, we can't work. That's a good point. We're super thankful for loyal customers who have braved all this. I suppose we will see what the next few weeks hold as we see the big three prepare to take time off. Man, Clifton, there's so much that's great. Yeah, GM, Ford, Chrysler, and I think Honda have all now shutdowns. Toyota is shutting down a plant or a few plants for a few days. Toyota's they're not union. But UAW is same UAW as Ford, Chrysler, GM. I assume Honda. I'm not sure on that one.
There's Nissan here in the Jackson area, and they have not shut down, but they're pretty much right around the corner from shutting down for a little while.
Right. Michael Gardner. I work in the 14th largest county jail with 4,100 inmates in the United States. I am the director of mental health. Our people haven't been convicted of a crime, but cannot go home if they are sick. So we are there for them as they struggle with the fear of what is happening to their families. I'm going to kill the Spanish flea for this one. This sounds pretty serious. So we are there for them as they struggle with the fear of what is happening to their families, the ones with significant mental illness that cannot go without medication. I have officers who look out for the safety of others that worry also about home and loved ones. Working in jails, there is no social distancing. But I thank God we have a job to go to. So I spend my time in the garage after the family goes to sleep and listen to podcasts while I work on my 69. There is no virus stress here. I don't know if that's a 69 Charger or what, but man, Michael, that there's a lot there. There is no social distancing in jails. He's absolutely right on that one.
Michael is an example to me of how blown away we all should be, you guys, about how diverse and how unique the audience is that have chosen to listen to this show. It's amazing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It doesn't sink home until we do a show like this about where all these things come from and how many of you guys and gals are out there and what you do day to day. It blows me away. I am stunned. I am stunned. The diversity of what this show draws, and all we do is sit here and waste your time. Gosh.
Oh, man. It's not the time to talk about it, but when things get back to normal, I'm going to see if Michael Gardner can get you locked up, Bernie. I think that'd be hilarious to do online. Yeah. April 1st or something. Well, I've heard enough.
Yeah, that's it.
You clearly are
24-hour lock-in.
Everybody's got a price and a limit.
There's a mental illness.
Got to know his limitations.
Thomas Reitler says, well, since I finally made an exit from a job I've had for 23 years yesterday, I will be working down at my shop, which I bought in June 2018. Plenty of Chevelles sitting in there that need to get done. Good for you, Thomas.
Good for you, yeah.
Yeah, I saw where he posted about that on his regular page. That was pretty cool.
Is this the Thomas Reitler that restores lots of Chevelles? So I think he sent us a note. There was a 65 Chevelle 283 4-speed car that went across Mecum that I thought was a rarely optioned car. He had done that car. That was his car. Chris Lushka just says, how car guys deal with COVID-19. It's a guy with an air filter strapped around his face.
Yeah.
Like one of the flat ones, from your wife's Honda. Pat Udenberg says, I work in manufacturing, a dyeing facility that's slated to make as many cylinder lines as we possibly can for John Deere before our doors get shut for good in October. We're pouring as much cast iron and making as many metal shavings as we can. There will be a payoff at the end of this, hopefully. Matthew Vaudrin says, wife's working from home, kids are out of school, but I'm out the door. Okay, we're kind of back to where we started. Brendan Cochran says, how many babies will be due in 9 months?
That's what I was wondering.
I think everybody's been kind of thinking that, like, we got a lot of time on our hands here.
A bunch of Christmas babies.
Oh, yeah. It is going to be a jolly good time. That will be the next pandemic. What are we going to do with all these freaking babies?
What's funny is if you've got a friend that has a baby right around Christmas time, you just look at them and you say, I know what you were doing at your time off.
Oh, I mean, it's like all the World War II baby boomers. Like, isn't that almost a fact? They can draw the day to World War II ending and people getting home and 9 months later. Kabamo!
Right.
Chris Lushka has another one. China just released the name of the person who had the first coronavirus. Do you guys know what it is?
Oh, hang on. Wait. I saw this. Wait. Chu or something?
Yep, it is. That's another, just for Patreon, probably. Okay. Chris. Damian Andrews. This is a joke. It must be read out loud to be funny. How do you catch a polar bear? Cut a hole in the ice and put peas around it. When the bears come to take a pee, kick him in the ice hole. How do you catch a polar bear? Cut a hole in the ice and put some peas around it. When the bear comes to take a pee, kick him in the ice hole.
Yeah.
Ice hole.
Yeah. right, man. We're all here to do our part.
On the inside, I'm laughing. I really am.
Yeah. I've just got a mental picture.
I'm proud of him. Somebody's got to work.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, that does get us through all of our current listener feedback. And I just put this out a couple hours before we decided to record. This was kind of a last second planned thing. So that is interesting. If we have more that come in, maybe we can throw those in a next week's show. This is not an official show. We're going to go ahead and give Holly the credit for sponsoring it anyway. I did reach out to our contact at Holly to ask if they had any specific announcements, whether it comes to buying parts or more specifically upcoming events, whether it be cancellations, postponements. I was told, as of right now, nothing to say. Not that there isn't something coming, but just no comment, nothing to say at this time. I'm kind of going on the assumption that no news is good news. If this event, like pretty much every event out there, including the one you're planning to go to in a couple of weeks, right, Corn Dog, the John Schneider event?
Scratch that.
Is that one scratched?
Yeah, just today he posted a video and said, as of now, it's officially postponed, but anybody who bought tickets or registered their car for the car show, all of that is still good for when they decide to do it. But he said he's still holding out hope that maybe something will change here in the next couple of weeks. And if by some reason, some way or shape or form, that the social ban is lifted before April 4th, then everything is still on go for April 4th and 5th. He's not holding his breath on it, but by some chance it's lifted before the 4th, then everything's on go. But until then, it's postponed to who knows when.
It's hard to say. I have been doing a little bit of reading on some international travelers, and from what I understand, and this could be completely wrong, if you're in China and you want to comment, feel free. China is now basically at the end of this because they were at the start of it. They're having no new viruses, and the only people that are getting it are now those that are coming into the country instead of it still being spread inside the country. The numbers are all over the place, and it's very hard to do apples to apples. So you can't compare Italy, right? That's probably the most drastic comparison right now. You can't really compare Italy to the United States because they're just two totally different things.
And they have really dense population, you know. I mean, they're kind of like what I would consider like, you figure like Florence, Italy is like kind of like New York, you know, everybody's like right on top of everybody. But, you know, I guess, Bernie, you're probably the closest thing to that. But, you know, for me and Rob, we're less populated.
Yeah, Italy, the population of Italy is fairly substantial for the size, the geographic size of it. And the amount of people actually infected, percentage-wise, is not very large. Of those infected, though, about 10% have actually died. And that's the scary number there. So you might say, well, that makes up 10% of my population. No, it doesn't make up 10% of population. It makes up a very, very small percentage of a population, but it just goes to speak how quick the devastation can be. And what we're really talking about is just keeping the flood of people out of the hospitals at the same time. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
There's only so many beds. There's only so many respirator machines. Yes, for most of you who get it, you're going to be treated and you'll be okay. But you can't be if there's somebody else in your room, in your respirator. So,
there are 7 million plus people in Dallas-Fort Worth. That's not counting the cast and crew at Cody Crafted and the Cat. But that's still a lot of folks, and they're taking measures here that they're reappropriating or repurposing otherwise unused spaces in hospitals, like conference rooms are becoming kind of treatment rooms for other things and things like that. So they open up the bigger rooms to bring in more hospital beds or move people around to maintain some of that distancing. So there's a lot going on here with that because they know the potential is there, but everyone seems to be on top of it. When we're done, I know we don't have a news segment, but I've got a little list. If we have time, I'd like to run that down just before we close of things that are things that will put a positive spin on some of this, if we have time, if you'd like to do that.
Yeah, I think we're about ready to close it out now. Something I'd like to mention, if you're a Patreon listener, the Nathan Warren, the Warren Customs prize grab, that's still coming. We have not changed that plan just because of what's going on this month. We may try to put a positive spin on how we can kind of help our fellow man right now. We haven't announced that in this particular show. There will be a Patreon show and another regular show for coming up next week. As far as what you can do to help out your fellow listeners, that one's up to you. Our prize winner, our Patreon prize winner for this month has been notified. Money has been sent to Cody Crafted. Projects are aplenty. The second place winner, who is actually in the Fort Worth area, I reached out to with a a smaller second place prize just because he's there. You know what? Why not? So help somebody out today just because you can. Because you can is a good enough reason to do it. Make sure that you're being safe. I'm making sure that I'm safe around my dad. My dad is not infected, but he is definitely in the target demographic that would be most susceptible. We can all do our part there. So, yeah, man, I'd love to hear what you got. How do you want to close it out?
Yeah, well, it's all fun and games until they start canceling car shows. And we've done a lot of that in the area too. So, it's only a car show, so it's okay. It's extra time to get some projects done and stuff. I was reading around and a couple of news services that I take, and I take some career website things as well. All that kind of gets funneled into the glass booth of emotion for dissemination. And this I thought was really, really fitting. And I thought, this is stuff that we hear on the news outlets. We hear it on the 6 o'clock in our local markets. We hear it on the radio, and we also hear it from each other in different ways. But if you were to take all that information and condense it down into a list, it was a little longer. I got it down to 10. And I think these all apply, but I think it's some good news. I think it's what we do best as Americans as addressing the problem. It's a huge problem. We've not seen this before, but it's working. What we're doing is working. And so number one of this list, and I'm calling them reasons not to panic. The people listening here, that's you and you and you, are not really prone to that. We are of all a mechanical, logical mindset. So this was going to make, I hope, a lot of sense to you. So number one on this list of why not to panic, number one, and I'm using the word we, and when I say we, I mean the governmental and medical community. Number one, we know what this is. We know what this coronavirus is. They've identified it. They know the strain. They know there are 2 different strains of it. They know where it came from. They know when it was born. They know what it is, right? Number 2, they know how to detect it. They know the signs. They know how to distinguish if it's this or if it's the flu or if it's something else or if it's nothing at all. So that helps a tremendous amount just to know what you're dealing with and from who.
Yeah.
Number 3, Rob, as you mentioned, China is coming out of this. So they got it and they're coming out of it. They're not out yet, but they're coming out of it. So that's the good news. That's the light at the end of our tunnel. We even have a timeline now, more or less. Not apples to apples, but a timeline to work with. Number 4, I love this one. 80% of the cases are mild. They're not even severe. So only 20%, probably of those 20%, are made up of, Rob, like our senior citizens, our moms and dads and things like that. And they're very young and they compromised anyway, are in that 20%. Number 5, and we said this, people here now are recovering and being released, coming out of the isolation. That's another light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to get through this. Number 6, now that's a little complicated, so stay with me. If you have a kid and your kid may have this or may have symptoms, that kid's case is going to be mild, and it's going to be mild all the way down the scale, probably to undetectable. 0.02% of that class is under the age of 20. So that could be a flag, and it could be good news as well. That's more incentive to be very careful, be very diligent, keep doing what you're doing to make sure that that 0.02% stays where it is. But you're on top of it already. That's the good news there. Number 7, cleaning, like we've been talking about, kills the virus. So wipe it down, wash your hands, keep doing what you're doing. Number 8, science is on top of it. We got to give them time to work. A year sounds like a long time for a shot that's going to cure this, but dudes, that's fast in the medical community.
The grand scheme of things,
that is
light speed.
Flying. It is unbelievable. So that tells you how great a system that we have in place here in the United States, that we have the talent, we have the facilities, we have the backing, and we have, Clay Milligan, the want to make this part of our history and make it that way quickly. Number 10, antiviral trials are underway. Antivirus is a way to kill it off for good, okay? Vaccines, they're in work. Vaccine is a preventative measure. You take a vaccine to help prevent you getting for something. Antiviral is a way to kill it off for good. And those trials are underway already, and we're not even to the vaccine place yet. That's the main 10 list. Now, I have a number of 11, but I'm going to move it from number 11 up to number 1. And the new number 1 is this. one reason I'm so proud to be associated with this show, and that is because we don't have to make a secret about our faith and what we really, really at our heart of hearts believe in around here. And our faith says, and I'm hoping I'm including that in you as well, our faith says that we're not to have a spirit of fear as we walk in our day-to-day life. Because we know everything's in God's hands anyway. It's all His. The solutions, the problems, the day-to-day, it's all His. And He deals that out to us in ways that, in doses that we can deal with it. And we need to, and this is the hard part, we need to trust that He has that plan and that solution, that we will have that knowledge so we can work through this as quickly as possible. And that's the list. And I hope it helps, and I hope it drives home some things that you already knew and didn't quite know maybe how to put a word to or a sentence to. So for us collectively, from this show to you, to you, to you, I think we're on top of this, and we just have to give it time to work. I know we are. We're being safe. We're doing all the things we're being told to do. And if we do that collectively and we do that in that mechanical mind of ours to let it play out because it's just a problem to solve, we'll find that solution, and we'll be on with this, and we'll look back and we'll say, look what we did. Amazing.
Very well said. Absolutely everything. Yes, 100% on the faith-specific explanation of that, the new number one, as you said. I mean, realistically, everybody listening, this is not a show we have to do. It's a show we get to do, and it's a show, if we're honest, we choose to do. There are other things that we could do. This show we're releasing right now was on purpose because just kind of felt we had a responsibility to do it. Not that you aren't going to get the same news and a lot more of it somewhere else. Of course you are. But again, we're in an age where sometimes you need to hear it from your friends, right?
Yeah.
Not the frickin' talking heads who are driving you nuts. You need to hear it from your friends. So in the place where we normally run movie clips, I have a very short clip, Bernie, that I'd like to run from Dr. Clayton Cowell from the Mayo Clinic. It's less than a minute. I think it will be very helpful. But we probably should close with something a little more appropriate to our style. So if you're stressed out, just go out like this.
My head's about to explode. My whole life sucks. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. My dad just died. We just killed Bambi. I'm out here getting my ass kicked, and every time I drive down the road, I want to jerk the wheel into a goddamn bridge in Buntman.
Thus concludes the Kibby and Fred show for March 18th, 2020. By the time you hear this, all the news will have changed, I'm sure. You can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/KF show. Please join us there if and when you are able. Leave a rating in iTunes. Fellas, is there anything else we need? Next week, we can get back to bagging on Coy and Vance Duke as we should be. But for right now, we're trying to do a common good. Are we good? Is there anything else we need to cover today?
I'm just glad I got to squeeze in a car show before they all got canceled.
Yeah, you got lucky on that one.
Yeah, you did.
Ran into a listener there, too.
Oh, awesome. I borrowed some step drill bits. I'm putting in some Hellwig sway bars this weekend. General Lee's going to go from General Lean to General Lee.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
That should be a fun one.
I replaced a little bit of aluminum. I had it just in there for fun to make a template fuel line. I changed that from aluminum back to stainless steel, so that's all good. Chevelle's back up and running again, so we're ready.
Cool. Awesome. Everybody, thanks for listening. Do listen here in a second. This is Dr. Clayton Cowell from the Mayo Clinic, and we'll be back next week with more fun stuff. Catch you later.
In epidemiology, which is sort of the study of populations, when we look at an illness like COVID-19, we see an initial little bit of a flattening where people are sort of saying, yeah, we know something's going out there. And then at a certain point, it reaches a certain area where we see a spike in the number of cases and the number of fatalities. And the whole idea of social isolation is to try to bend that curve. In other words, to prevent that big spike. We know that there will be some cases. We know that there will be some deaths, unfortunately, but we want to minimize that as much as possible. As much as possible. As much as possible. As much as possible. As much as possible.